I had a conversation with a male friend of mine a while ago, and we were talking about intuition and being sensitive to other people's emotional states and whatnot. And I was saying that I considered myself to be someone that was quite sensitive to how other people felt. And he was like, "Oh, explain what you mean about that." And I said, "Well, if somebody walks into a room that I'm in, and if they're really, really anxious or they're this or they're that, I can pick up on it straight away and it makes me feel that way straight away." And he said, "Oh, you can feel that, can you?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Okay, well, what about if you're sitting in the room and your eyes are closed and that person walks into the room? Can you feel that an anxious person is walking into the room then?" And I was sort of a bit thrown, and I was like, "Well, I don't know, probably don't think that I could." And he said, "So you're not really feeling anything. You're so good at picking up little psychological nuances and twitches in an eyebrow, looks to the side, or body language, that you're mistaking that for intuition and feeling." And it's really thrown me off, and it's stopped me from feeling like I have that intuition, because I didn't really know how to explain what he'd said to me.
Okay. What happens is that you do both together. You see, you get the body language because the body language will tell you things. If people have this posture or this posture, it tells you something about that person, about their personality. If how they walk, how they present themselves, how they dress, if their eyes are twitching, whatever, it tells you something about what's going on. So the body language is important. But the body language is mostly a confirmation of your intuitive sense. And the reason that you couldn't really answer that and don't know is because you don't normally sit in rooms with your eyes shut. You know, that's not what you do. So you don't have a lot of experience of sitting in rooms with your eyes shut. And if your eyes were shut, you may not know somebody walked in the room, you see. And it's not a matter of they just put out this vibe like they would put out an odor. You might smell them. Let's say they had a lot of perfume on. And they walk in the room and you go, somebody just walked into this room, you see, because now they're putting out this thing that you're sensing. It's not like that with the intuition. You have to intend to get that information. Now that intention may come automatically, so you just do it. But it's still an intent to collect that information. So unless you have that intent, then you don't get that information. You normally do have that intent about people. That's what makes you empathic. So you have that inclination to have that intent with the people you meet. And when you do, you get that information. And it's non-physical. It has nothing to do with body language. It has to do with an intent. But sitting in a room with your eyes closed is not a natural environment. It's not a natural thing that happens. Okay? If you can't smell the person and you don't hear them, you won't know they're there. If you don't know they're there, you won't put out that intent. If you don't put out that intent, you won't get the information. So the scientist who puts on the blindfold, plugs up your nose, puts earplugs in, and says, "Okay, tell me if anybody's anxious in the room." And you say, "Well, I don't know. Who's in the room? It's just you and I a minute ago." They say, "Ah, see that? You don't have any intuition." Well, no. They don't understand that the way that intuition works is that you're querying a database for information. Whether you do that intellectually or not, you're doing that. And that's how you get it. So it's a matter of you have to see the person, connect with them. Maybe you see a little bit of the body language, or maybe you're just curious, or you're just empathic and sensitive and like to connect with people. Whatever it is that's your motivation, you just do it. You've probably always done it. It's just the way you are, and it's nothing you particularly try to do or try not to do. It's just part of who you are, so it's very natural. It's not something you can intellectually describe to somebody. You know, somebody said, "Well, tell me, how do you walk? How could you explain to somebody how you walk?" "Well, I put one foot in front of the other." "Well, that's not much of an explanation." "Sure, I know that much. I mean, tell me really how you walk. How do you stay balanced on that foot from one to the other one? You only have one foot down. Why don't you fall over?" You know, and they go through all, most people would say, "Well, I don't know, I just walk." You know, "I can't tell you that." Well, it's like that with your natural. So when people put you in that bind, see, that's the way they want you to live in their world. In their world, it's all intellectual process. And if it's not an intellectual process, then it doesn't exist. See, in your world, everything is an intellectual process. So you could explain that to them, but they probably wouldn't understand. And if you did explain it to them and say, well, you know, I do have an intuition, I do get it, it's something I automatically do, whatever, they just say nonsense. You're just picking up cues, you know, it's not like that. But if somebody walked in, let's say, and had a bag over their head, well, right away you might suspect that there was anxiety or something there, right? The guy walks in, he's got a bag over his head. But if they did, such that you couldn't see any facial expressions or tics or body language, maybe the bag goes all the way down to their ankles, you could still sense that person, and you would. It's not just the body language. The body language just gets you, yeah, okay, that makes sense, yeah, that connects, and it gives you a whole picture. But you don't need it, but it's helpful because it fills in the picture. But it's not something you do with your intellect. It's something that the whole thing gets integrated and you get the data, and that's the way it works.